Welcome to episode 7 of Rewind Heroes. I'm your co-host, Greg Compton.
And I'm your other co-host, Dan Gaines. This is going to be your weekly video podcast where we talk everything cool in movie, music, television, anything we want to talk about. And Greg, I'm sure a lot of people thought we'd left, but we're back. We only took a week off.
It's like the Revenant, we fought a bear.
Exactly. We're recovered and we're ready to go.
Exactly. And there's a lot of news. So when we get into newsreel, some of it's going to be news, some of it's going to be stuff that you've already heard about, but we just want to talk about it. So should we waste any more time?
Why not? Let's do this.
Let's go to the newsreel. All right, Dan, so some pretty big news out there from one of our favorite franchises. What do you got?
Well, Greg, it looks like Indiana Jones 5 will be coming to theaters near you in 2019. Recently, it was announced that Steven Spielberg will once again helm the director's chair for this newest installment, and none other than the Harrison Ford will pick up the iconic fedora. Reports have come in that Jurassic Park co-writer David Cope will begin working on the script. So, Greg, I don't know about you, but I'm extremely excited about this news.
I'm ecstatic. I think it's so awesome. Now, obviously, Crystal Skull did not go over as well as they planned as far as...
It failed.
Well, as critical acclaim, but it made a lot of money.
It made a lot of money, which is probably why we're getting a fifth.
That's right. Now, people are saying he's even older. My thing, and I'll see your take, I wish it had happened maybe just 2 years after the other one. Because they were able to kind of pull that off.
So you like that era? You think they should kind of stay right there?
Like in the 50s?
Yeah.
I'm cool with that. Well, now you can't. I don't think you can. He's in great shape, so you can fudge his age a little bit. If you bring him into the 60s, I think that's also a very cool feel. So I'm okay with that. But the thing that gives me hope is no George Lucas involvement.
No mention of George, nothing.
Nothing, because what I recall is George wanted to write the script. Spielberg wanted to do one of his stories. And so the big thing was the alien heads, and it kind of went crazy. And to me, the Crystal Skull is a real deal. You hear about those, but then these look like they came from the alien predator world. And it's just, what are your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that all of us, it's funny because this was basically the same news story as, I want to say that movie came out, was it 2008, I think, was it 84? Somewhere in that range.
I think, or 7,
But when that story broke, I felt like I was reading the same news release. It was, well, they're back at it again, Steven Spielberg, Harrison Ford. So this time, everyone's expectations, I think, are tempered just a bit.
Yeah.
But I agree. The fact that George is not involved, not that we don't love George,
right? But
it's time to go with a fresh look. But I also feel like because they took a look at the prequels in Star Wars, Disney, when I'm saying this, to realize the mistakes they had made and tried to pay homage to the originals. I feel as though they've learned from the mistakes in Indiana Jones as well. Yeah. So I'm excited about it. Now, I'll be curious what type of indie film this is going to be. Are we going to, because I kind of see it, I don't know if I like an Indiana Jones in the 60s. That kind of feels weird to me. So I've heard rumors, and I kind of like this theory, so I'll be curious what you think, of having it where Harrison or Indy's maybe teaching a class, maybe he's sitting down and telling a story, but he's telling an adventure of the past. So maybe it's around the Nazis or even before then about an adventure when he was younger. If you do that, it's a great way to introduce the new Indiana Jones.
That's true.
And it's kind of a passing of the baton. So maybe you get a Chris Pratt or a Bradley Cooper in there, and then you set the franchise up to move forward with the new actor. So I don't know, what do you think if they kind of go that route?
I would be okay with it. I don't think they'll go that way because I believe Steven Spielberg has said only one person can play Indiana Jones, that's Harrison Ford, but you also have Disney involved, and they're all about franchises. So I would be okay with that, and it worked for the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles.
It did.
Because he made an appearance there. He was playing a saxophone. I think he even had a beard in that episode. A little bit of one. I remember he's holed up in like this cabin, and he's telling a story, and of course they went with the younger story. So I don't know. I'd be okay with that. Yeah. I don't know if they'll go that route. Again, I'm okay with the 60s as long as you don't push it to like the 70s. I don't know who you would go for. It's still kind of Cold War.
True.
So you can still play that card. I mean, the Russian thing worked right there. I think the big thing is what you're going after. You know, the ones that are the most iconic, Raiders and Last Crusade, and because they were going for religious articles that everyone was familiar with, whether that was your faith or not, you were aware of it. Temple Doom was a little off on that, but it had enough interest that people were still into it. And Crystal Skull, I think, failed. Like, it just fell apart halfway through. In the Shia LaBeouf thing, we don't need that.
Maybe the greased-haired monkeys.
Yeah,
the fridge scene.
You're going to need. He'll have a team with him of people. Do you bring Karen Allen back? I don't know. Maybe they're married now.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you go with that? And then the other thing is, you could not have Mutt, but you've got to have some kind of younger person, the muscle, because Harrison Ford can still throw a punch, but you're not gonna.
That's why I think it could be a student in his class or someone that's wanting to go along his line. You can bring him along.
I think that, or he's brought in as the consultant to kind of be what these other people were for Indy. He's kind of brought in. Of course, kind of takes center
stage. We could
stage.
talk about, I feel like, this one story for hours.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm excited about it. 2019 feels like an eternity away, but you know what? It's not going to be that long before we're watching the first teaser and hopefully talking to you guys about that.
Exactly. We also have some other news when you start mentioning Harrison Ford. Well, Dan, the young Han Solo film is happening, and as the beginning of the production gets closer, the apparent list of potential leads has grown shorter. So currently the favorites in the running are the Kingsman's Taron Egerton, Alden Ehrenreich of Hail Caesar, and Jack Rayner of the last Transformers movie. So Harrison Ford's advice to this? Don't do it.
It sounded just like him.
Not exactly.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously... I'm excited that Disney thinks we need a lot of Star Wars. I want a lot of Star Wars.
Right.
I don't know if I need a young Han Solo movie, but guess what? We're getting it. So I need to put that aside and look at what we're getting. So out of these names, do any of them overly excite me? No.
No.
I guess out of the three, the name that probably stands out to me the most would be Taron, just because I have seen Kingsman and I really enjoyed the film.
Yeah.
I've never even heard him without an accent. So
that's true.
Without even hearing him drop that, it's hard to say I'm excited about him.
Yeah.
I honestly am not overly excited about any one of these names, yet I don't believe I'll be overly excited about any of them until I see them actually playing the role.
Right.
So what do you think?
I'm with you on that. Taron Egerton could do good. Jack Rayner, I saw a little bit of that last Transformers movie. As much as I could not stand it, I had to turn it off. There was a bit of that guy. It's weird. On film, moving around, so he looked a bit different than when you see like the production stills.
Okay.
Because I was looking up pictures of him, and because the face shape just didn't seem right, it seemed a little too squared. But I don't recall that when I saw the movie, so I don't know. Maybe he could pull off. They're obviously, if these guys are on the short list, hopefully they've seen something in these people that we haven't seen. Like they could do a good impression of some sort. Yeah. So it's just you're replacing an iconic actor with this role. So it's of all the ones you could go with, why do we do this? Do the Obi-Wan thing first when you have a young Ewan McGregor can still pull it off.
To pull that off.
People that have proven it. This one just seems a little. Harrison, it's one of those, the character is played in such a way, and you can't really give it your own take. I don't think. I think you have to get the mannerisms, the one-liners.
And I will say this though, because initially it's like you look at these names, you look at their photos, you're like, none of these guys look like Han Solo.
Right.
I think that we got to let that go. I don't think visually. I believe you can actually do this effectively, make it a good Han Solo film. If it's a guy that just has the acting chops, he doesn't have to physically look like him. I mean, we're not going to find a guy that's Harrison Ford. So
unless you get the guy that was in
Adeline. Yes.
Yep.
And he looks like him, but now can he be in a 2-hour movie playing him? That
true.
Begs the question. So I think as an audience member, we're going to go into the film. It's going to be jarring at first. It's not Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
But I think 10 minutes into the movie, we're going to be able to say, you know what? I'm watching a Han Solo film. You forget that you're not watching Harrison Ford if it's done correctly.
Right.
So I'm not even as hung up on that. I just want to see the performance and how it's done. There's been some rumors that some of these names have been reading together. Who knows? Maybe Han has a brother. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it could be a friend.
Yeah.
Who knows which route they're going to take. I'm very curious to see because, don't get me wrong, I'm not excited, but I'll be the first person in line to go check it out.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see who's playing the scruffy-looking nerf herder.
Well, Greg, up next, we've got the newest trailer for Captain America Civil War, which dropped, I guess, a couple weeks ago. And the biggest reveal everyone's talking about is the appearance of SpiderMan and just how well we get to see the web slinger's new suit. Well, Greg, I know we haven't talked a lot about this since the trailer dropped, but like you said, the Spider-Man suit was the big thing. What were your first thoughts when you saw him on screen?
I'm really digging it. I think it's a really great outfit. Obviously this isn't breaking news. I think this came out the day after our last episode, and we didn't have one last week, but we wanted to discuss it. I like it. The colors are very primary. More so, they got away from the dark colors. At least it seems like it. And you're seeing them in bright sunlight. So, I mean, you're getting a great shot. I like the small logo on the chest. The eyes are what everyone's talking about. I think that's cool because it gives him a sense of being able to emote on screen. The thing that, and I look at this and I like it. The only thing I start thinking technical about it, which is a dumb thing to do in a superhero movie, but my thought is, when it moves, you can almost hear like an iris sound, like a camera. I'm thinking, you take one punch to the face, does that thing just kind of like flicker out and he looks like he has a lazy eye? I mean, I don't know how that suit works, but that would be the one thing that obviously they aren't going to go into that detail. It's for a nice shot on camera, kind of translate comic book to reality. But it looks cool, so I'm all for it. And I think he had, and correct me if I'm wrong, there were little containers that looked like they were almost bullets on his suit. I wonder if that's the cartridges for web slingers, which is, the one thing that the Amazing Spider-Man did right was by the comics, that's not a power. That was something he had built as cartridges. So it looks like they might be going that route. What did you think about it?
Yeah, I know we're supposed to get on here and analyze the suit. I don't care. He looked like Spider-Man. It's awesome to see him thrown in with Marvel now in the actual cinematic universe. I think he looked great. I agree that it's kind of weird his eyes are going to move, but you know what? It's going to look cool on camera. Deadpool did the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think it makes it literally look like the comic book characters jumping from the pages.
Yeah.
So I'm all for it. I said bring it on. Let's see what he's got.
Yeah, and the voice was good too, I thought. As little as you heard, it just had that nice old teenager hey, Bobby Brady thing going on.
Nice.
All right, well, moving on and talking more Spielberg, casting has continued for his Ready Player One, and the most recent name to be added into the mix is Simon Pegg. So right now we believe Pegg is in talks to play Ogden Morrow, which is one of the co-creators of the Oasis, which is the digital game that all of them kind of live in and interact in. So do you have any thoughts on this? Because you don't really know anything about the book yet.
All my thoughts are, I still want to read the book. I can't wait to see the movie, and I love Simon Pegg. So I'll let you run with that.
Yeah, and I knew you wouldn't have any real thought on this, but I thought we talked about this movie.
None of my
so we
thoughts
need to.
are real thoughts, Greg.
Well, no. I knew we needed to bring it up because we've talked about some of these. I really like Simon Pegg. Here's the thing. People have been talking about how some of this casting does not quite fit the characters that they imagine in their head or that have been described. In the book, as far as I remember, at least it's what I picture and a lot of people picture. I've got to go back and look if there's a description. You picture a Wozniak, like, the guy that helped co-create Apple.
Yeah.
That's the kind of guy you picture, heavyweight, big beard, jovial guy that kind of keeps to himself, though, because he's the co-creator of this, and he has an avatar in the world, but he can do anything he wants because he helped co-create this game. So he's a very powerful character, comes in and out here and there, and I think he has the acting chops for it. I just don't know if he has the physicality for it. So but I've got to look. Maybe that's the picture I put in my head was Wozniak. I can't remember if that's an actual description. But that's going to be the one thing people are a little off on if he is physically suited to play the role. So, we'll see how that comes out. But give us your thoughts on that. If you're a Ready Player One fan, what do you think? Because we've had a handful of casting, and people have been kind of on the fence about some of it. I think everyone has good acting chops, but it's just how do they portray their character? So, what else do we got?
Yeah, I think we've got one more story. Sony just released the first trailer for the film The Shallows. The Shallows features Blake Lively as Nancy, a woman surfing alone on a secluded beach who is attacked by a great white and stranded a short distance from shore. The only thing separating her from freedom and survival is about 200 yards of water. Now, Greg, when I saw this trailer, you showed this to me, I guess yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Jaws fan, like we mentioned a few episodes back. This thing had everything that you want in a trailer. I mean, I had anxiety just watching it and the way it was shot and just seeing her literally stranded, which looked like going across a room, but you didn't want to get near that water. It looked awesome. I cannot wait to see it. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think what Jaws did for Deepwater and already freaked people out at the beach, right around time for spring breaks and summer break. Now you've got something that makes you not even want to go into waist deep water.
Yeah.
I had no clue what this movie was. I just happened upon the trailer, saw it, thought this is really cool, and this could be a good standalone picture for her, because I don't know if it's going to be just her and the shark for like 90% of the movie, or if this is like half the movie.
Definitely how it appears, but we don't know.
Yeah, and you start thinking the amount of water up there. Is there a tide difference? So is that little piece of rock she's standing on only going to last so long? Is it going to go up a couple feet and then she's a complete sitting duck? I don't know. We'll post this trailer.
I was going to say, we need to get that trailer on Facebook, because it's awesome.
I think she's a great actress. I think it looks great. And when you see the overhead shot of the shark, this thing looks like a megalodon. I mean, it looks massive, prehistoric. So, when I go to Florida this summer, I think I'm just going to stay on the beach. I'm cool with that.
And it's a great release date. I think it was late June, mid to late June.
Okay, so yeah.
So, I mean, everybody's going to be on vacation, and it might make you think a little bit about getting in that water.
Yeah.
So it was great.
I think it's going to be really good. I think just the psychological thing of seeing safety right there and knowing you could get there in about a 5-minute swim.
Yep.
I think that's the thing that's really going to sell this movie. Well, I think now we've gone through enough news. I think right now it's time to talk about a movie we were both very excited to see. So I think we need to go to the rewind and talk a little 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Let's do it.
So the movie we're talking about today, 10 Cloverfield Lane, which I know we were both incredibly excited about.
Extremely.
This is the first film by Dan Trachtenberg, who was doing commercials, Lexus, things of that nature. He was co-hosting the Totally Rad show for years, did the short film for Porthole, got his opportunity with Bad Robot and J.J. Abrams to make this film for Paramount. I saw it this past weekend. You saw it yesterday.
I did.
Let's start, before we get into any spoilers, let's just go ahead and give our overall reaction. So what were your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so overall, I mean, I was a huge fan of Cloverfield, which this is, I guess you would call it an indirect sequel to that. It's
Lives in the Cloververse.
There you go, lives in the Cloververse. So I really enjoyed the film. I thought that it did a great job of, you're constantly trying to figure out what the heck's going on. And where are we? What's really happening? What's not happening? And the fact that I went into the movie knowing it's in the Cloverfield verse, because I think some people may not know that.
Yeah, I would agree.
Just go as a casual viewer. So I think that helped for my overall experience, just because I kind of understood what was happening outside of the bunker. But overall, I loved it. I thought it was very well done. But I will say, I didn't leave the theater as excited about it as Greg. I liked it. I didn't love it. And I don't mean this as a huge insult, but I will say, overall, I felt like it was kind of forgettable.
Really?
I left the movie kind of like, feel like I've been here in a movie like this.
Really?
I thought there were great performances.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the film.
Oh, no.
But I did not love the film.
See, I love the film. I really enjoyed it. Now, obviously, I've followed Dan Trachtenberg for a while, so I wanted to like this. I will say a few things. This feels like a Twilight Zone episode, and it is very Hitchcock as well. The beginning scene when they, I don't think it's any spoiler to say it, a lot of these that it starts, she's in a crash, she's saved, and that's how she winds up in this bunker.
Yeah.
So the way they handled the credits and the way they handled the crash scene, amazing, reminds me a lot of the intro to Psycho.
I agree with you on that. That was great.
I think the cutting of this film was amazing. I think Trachtenberg allowed for tense moments. When we live in a world with short, quick cuts, there were moments to let these scenes breathe, kept you on the edge of your seat. I felt like the performances were amazing. I think John Goodman could get an Oscar for this if it wasn't already probably forgotten by the Academy by the end of the year.
Unfortunate time.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. I think Winstead did an amazing job for her role. I think there were definitely layers to the story that I enjoyed, where you know there's something not right here. It goes into a whole other category of things. The ending is a little off the wall, and it maybe would not have loved it except for the fact that I went in knowing this was part of the Cloverfield universe and knowing it was supposed to be like a Twilight Zone episode, and so knowing anything could happen.
Yeah.
you had mentioned how it could have cut a little shorter at the end, probably would have saved it for you more.
Yeah, that was
and I could agree with that.
Gripe more than anything.
Should we say spoiler alert here?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
We'll just like drag a spoiler over here.
Did the word just go across? Okay.
Maybe, if I have time, we'll see.
Yeah, so overall, I'm glad you brought that up because I feel like I'm probably being harder on this film in the review than
it's
I really
okay.
am. I did like it, but yeah, the ending just. I guess I knew going in we're going to have an alien at some point show up, and it just was the way it was even being marketed that it's Cloverfield, but. I don't think they needed to jam it down our throat at the very end and be like, you know what? There are aliens, and we're going to fight aliens, and it's going to be this epic scene where the movie was already intense enough on its own in the bunker and the scenes with. It was a very character-driven film.
Yeah.
That I don't think you needed it. It didn't need to happen. The point could have been made by just you get out, you realize, you know what? The air's not a problem. And there's aliens. We don't need the alien attacking. We don't need explosions. I don't personally think we needed all that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you could have cut it, like you said, you could have cut it when you had the realization of the aliens. And she had one line of basically like, are you kidding me? Cut, go to credits. That would have gotten the point across. I do like that the fact that by having her get through that scene and then move forward. Yeah, there's a point where, and if you see this, like I said, we're talking spoilers now. So after the alien attack and a nice little Molotov cocktail later, she gets in a car and she's driving and she picks up a radio station and, hey, you could go Baton Rouge to safety, but we need people in Houston to run off this attack. You don't even know everything that's being attacked because this is not the same thing that was in Cloverfield.
It's not.
But the thing is, she stops the car and decides to go help. When she's mentioned all through her life, she's always taken the easy way out and always run away instead of helping. So it kind of was a way that here the character is and she's grown and finally facing her fears. So I liked that. But I agree. I mean, it went a little bombastic at the end on let's go nuts for effects. And it didn't need it because the rest of the story in the bunker was insanely good.
And I think that's what bothered me because the whole movie was about emotion and about the intensity without zero effects. I mean, it was just characters in a room. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And it was very well done in that way, and it kept you on the edge of your seat. And to me, it cheapened that in a way because by the end of it, you're like, what? Well, you didn't have to go there.
That's true. But I will say, John Goodman's performance in this thing, his character,
he was incredible.
Yeah, you never knew where his mind was.
He was a loose cannon.
And you get this story. And the thing that I liked, her character did the things you wanted her to do. So often you
That's
get
a good point. Like, why would you not go to this?
And the first, it's like, this is what I'm going to try to do to escape. I'm going to try to do this thing. I'm going to do this thing. And they were smart moves. And so often you see this, you're like, why don't you try something? Well, she did. She tried a lot of things.
She did.
And it was just really well played.
I agree.
They had a third character in there that was a good go-between.
I liked him.
I liked him too.
A lot.
And even though we're giving spoilers, there's a few I don't want to give in that because there's a couple scenes that just make you jump, even if you're watching this ahead of time. And the one thing I thought was good though is the layer of you realize that maybe something is going on up there. You got to figure out, is there something going on, or is John Goodman lying? Because he's not the most socially what's the word I'm looking for? He's with it. He's just not the most.
Just not.
Yeah, his social IQ is not.
The way
up
they
there.
set him up, like you get the sense he's that. He's the creepy neighbor that everybody thinks a little kooky. He wants to build the bunker because the end of the world is coming.
Yeah.
So they set him up great in that way.
They set up, so you're trying to figure out that. And then you've got to figure out if, he mentions this daughter. And then you got to figure out what happened to the daughter. And then you got to figure out, was that girl even the daughter? And it just sets up this whole other thing of what's going on just in this little environment of the bunker. You've got to figure out, and she's got to figure out, is she safe? And I think it bounces back and forth a few times. Maybe I am. I'm definitely not. Maybe, maybe not. Where am I most safe? Up there or down here? And I think
the ultimate, I guess, decision for her in the film.
Yeah, so I think it was cut beautifully for a first film. I think it was amazing. The score was really good.
The score was amazing.
Very Hitchcockian.
Hitchcockian.
Hey, I'm coining it. So we're going with it. So I would, if you haven't seen it, you've watched this far into our review, that doesn't spoil the fact that it is just an amazing film, in my opinion.
It definitely worth seeing.
Yeah.
And you need to, and I think it's worth seeing in theaters. You want to see it on the big screen. I don't know, it's one of the most intense movies we've seen in a while. So from
Yeah.
that standpoint, I really, really, really enjoyed it.
My wife loved it. I think the thing is, you're guaranteed a tense movie,
Yep.
a really good experience. I think both of us will say you will at least like it, or you'll at least think it's good.
Yes.
Your opinions on the end may vary on if you think it should have been cut sooner, a little later, if you like what they did. There's a reference to what you see, or part of it, in a one little offhand line earlier in the movie that I happen to recall. I don't know if everybody will, but that almost, because of it and how offhand it was, when it becomes the reality, I just kind of laughed in my seat because I thought, oh, that's good. And I don't think, I said that to you before you saw it. Did you catch it when you're watching it, or even with me saying that?
I did not. No, I didn't know
good.
what you were referring to when you said that.
Okay, so then, yeah, that's what I was hoping everyone out here won't get that.
Yeah.
But there's a moment, and once you see it, then you remember it.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, that was,
True.
I thought that was kind of clever. That's
It was.
very Twilight Zone. So, yeah, I think that's what we've got there. Should we move on to some recommendations?
Let's move on.
All right, recommendations.
Well, Greg, for recommendations, you got anything for us this week?
I do, a band. So I'll run out of some eventually, but I thought I'd just share all the ones I like with you guys. So this week, it's Black Rebel Motorcycle Club.
I like the name.
They're a very cool group. They're a trio. They've had a couple lineup changes with the drummer, but the other two have remained the same. They're just a good rock band. You know, bass, drums, guitar. Their first few albums would be kind of an Alice in Chains kind of rock music, but then they put out an album called Howl, still years ago, that went just most of it acoustic guitar with the harmonica, very folksy sound. I thought it was pretty amazing, and from then on in their albums it's a nice blend, more on the rock but occasionally these songs, and it's because the bass and guitarist both sing and both write, so they have different writing styles, and some are heavier on one than the other. The album I would recommend the most is called Baby 81, and it's just a white cover with a black guitar cracked, and you've got to check this album out. It's really so good. Some of the songs like Cold Wind, you get these harmonies that remind you, like you think you're listening to a harder version of the Beatles. But then some of the others have more droning rock. I think they're a great band. They've got a handful of albums out there. I love that one. Howl is Baby 81, if you want the one style, I think is solid. First track to the end. And Howl gives you that entire different feel of the more folky side. So those would be the two to check out, I think, if you really want to get a feel for this band. Look them up on YouTube, listen to them on Spotify, or any of the other services you stream. Really good stuff.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're going to try doing something a little different this week. We're going to start featuring the hot upcoming movie this week. And what better way to start it out than DC's first entry, if you will, I guess you can count Man of Steel, but Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, exactly. You haven't seen any posters, probably haven't seen any TV spots. Well, it's this Friday. And it's one of those films, I don't know what I expect, but it is going to be interesting to see what DC does to get all of us on board with all their heroes as they start introducing us to their Justice League characters and then eventually leading us to the Justice League film. So, can't promise I'll get to check it out this week, but make sure you do if you have time, because it's going to be probably our first big blockbuster of the year.
Yeah, and where is our Green Lantern?
Exactly.
I'm just saying. So,
He's just saying.
Well, we're back, and it feels good to be back.
It does.
And so until next time, though, be kind.
And please, rewind.